All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at the Opendatasoft Power User OpenStreetMap workshop. My name is James. I'm the Technical Project Manager on the Customer Success team, and I'll be your host today. Please note that there will be two sessions for today's webinar. First one is the current session you're attending now, and the other is at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you would like to ask a question at any point of the webinar, please refer to your GoToMeeting control panel and submit your questions. We will pick two questions to answer today, and after the webinar, you will receive a Typeform survey to ask questions while you try out today's demo. On Thursday, we'll have two more Q&A sessions, and that's for answering all of the technical questions and go over the submitted questions in detail. Allow me to introduce our presenters today. Besides myself, we have Sivan from the Customer Success team as well. Sivan, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, sure. Thanks, James. I'm Sylvain, Customer Success Manager, and I'm helping our clients develop their usages on their data portal, mainly for the energy field and North America.
Thank you, Sivan. So in the next 30 minutes, I would like to introduce you to two different resources to help you share OpenStreetMap data and also empower your end users by connecting with Opendatasoft. How these two platforms can work together and serve your citizens. And I'll present an introduction on the OpenStreetMap community based on the usage and the database, and followed by Sivan's demonstration of the OSM data model and how Opendatasoft can ingest data from OSM using Overpass API. And to wrap up, Sivan will showcase the key takeaways, and we hope to see you again on Thursday's session. Now to start. What is OpenStreetMap and how did this project really get started? Some refer to OSM as the map Wikipedia, some say it's a database. In fact, it's both. It's a geodatabase, and the goal of it is to create a collaborative environment to share the proprietary map data in UK. And the project was initiated by Steve Coase in the United Kingdom during 2004. He was inspired by Wikipedia, and since then it has grown over 6 million registered users. Users may collect data using manual survey, GPS devices, aerial photography, and other free resources. And the platform undergoes about 3 million modifications each day, so that's quite a lot. And the site is supported by the OSM Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization registered in England and Wales. Some of the advantages of the platform include lean data production, lean data processes, data freshness, and the fact that it's helping people with disabilities and being open and accessible. It sure is a very interesting project. So how is it corresponding to the COVID-19 situation? The coronavirus pandemic situation is causing disruption and affecting a lot of businesses and services. The tag opening hours colon COVID-19 equals is aimed to identify the opening hours of a business or service in the duration of the containment and allow users to understand what type of businesses are open during this time and what are closed. Moving on, the map production part is quite interesting. The data on OpenStreetMap is actually collected from scratch by volunteers, and they perform systematic ground surveying, and they use tools such as handheld GPS, a notebook, digital camera, or a voice recorder, and the data is then entered into the database. Mapathon competition events are also held by OpenStreetMap team and by nonprofit organization or even such as local gov to map a particular area. And the availability of the aerial photography and other data from commercial and government resources are added as important sources of data for manual updating and automated imports. Special processes are in place to handle automated imports and to avoid legal and technical problems. So what are the usages that are being used on the OpenStreetMap map? The data provided by OSM project can be viewed in a browser with JavaScript supported via Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or more commonly known as HTTP. on its official website. The basic map views are standard, cycle map, also transport map, and humanitarian. Finder map display are also available at category options, and using the OpenStreetMap browser, you can achieve that. OSM End is a free software for Android and iOS mobile device that can use offline vector data from OSM. It also supports layering OSM vector data with pre-rendered raster map files from OSM and other resources. And lastly, the Genome Maps is a graphical front end written in JavaScript and introduced in Genome 3.10. It provides a mechanism to find users' locations while helping of GeoClue by finding directions via Grasshopper, and it can deliver a list as answer to queries. Now, if I were to search for data on OSM, how can I achieve that, and through what software should I do that? A most commonly used software is Overpass API, and that is to allow us to create different search results on the database directly. The Overpass API is a read-only API that serves up custom-selected parts of the OSM map data. It acts as a database over the web, and the client can send a query to the API and get back data set that corresponds to the query. Unlike the main API, which is optimized for editing, the Overpass API is optimized for data consumer that need a few elements within a glimpse or up to roughly 10 million elements in some minutes, both selected by search criteria like location, type of object, tag property, proximity, or combinations of those. It acts as a database backend for various services. And with all the background elements, let's look at how database is utilized in real life applications. So below are some use cases of Opendatasoft customers that take advantage of GeoDatabase, and they create visualizations for their end users. So firstly, we have an example of Grand Paris Sud. It is a region in the northern France, and in the picture on the right, it's a map displaying shops that are open in the area based on OSM data. So like we mentioned, this customer of ours, they queried directly on Overpass API, and the query is then ingested by Opendatasoft platform using an URL, which Sylvain will present in a second here. And after the query is being used, you can see results on the right as geo points, and Opendatasoft recognizes that and it ingests into the back office. And for that, they can create map visualization using our map builder tool. Now moving on, we have the example of Note Metropole, and the city of Note uses OpenStreetMap to test the fluidity of the city's road access. So not just geo points, the OpenStreetMap can also showcase geo shapes and also real-time information. And in this example, it's queried the same way that OSM platform is, and it lets the Opendatasoft platform ingest the data. In addition to these two examples, Opendatasoft has a data network that serves as a library and has a public data to be reused at all time. The data on here is directly extracted from OSM, and some of them have custom visualizations already made. Essentially, the ODS platform can ingest geopoints, geoshapes, and relations as long as these data can be queried on the OpenStreetMap database. Thus, the city used the Opendatasoft platform to present intuitive visualizations for their end users and maximize the reusability of the platform. I would like now to yield the floor to Sylvain, who will present OpenStreetMap's data model and demonstrate how it can be ingested into Opendatasoft.
Yes, thanks a lot, James. And yeah, before going to the demo, it's necessary to understand very quickly OpenStreetMap data model. So actually, unlike GIS, Geographic Information Systems, where geodata is represented with points, lines, and polygons to sum it up, in OSM, these concepts are modeled differently. And actually, very simply, you have three kinds of objects: nodes, ways, and relations. And all of these objects are added up with additional tags that will provide further information on each of them. But best is to take concrete examples to go through that. So first, nodes. Actually, in OSM terminology, a node is a geopoint, so defined by latitude and longitude. So in our world, it can be actually a lot of stuff. It can be a tree, it can be a barber shop, it can be a cafe, it can be a bicycle parking. And here on this screenshot, you can see a restaurant close to the area where I live that is represented with a node. And as it is written here, it is a restaurant. Second kind of object, ways. So ways, basically, it's a combination of nodes. So you gather several nodes. So either, like on the left side, it can be a shape or a rectangle here. And this rectangle is representing the theater of the Southampton in United Kingdom. Or also it can be any other shapes. It can be a line. It can be like in this example, a road, a bicycle road, and so on. Third kind of object, a bit more complex. It's what it is called relations in OpenStreetMap. It can be a combination of ways and nodes. So it's actually used to represent more complex elements. And it can be, for example, a university, which can have several buildings like Harvard here. Or it can be, in this case, a swamp that can be scattered around different areas. And in this case, it will be represented via relations. As you can see in all of these examples, you have on the left side tags. Actually, tags is something that will help OSM contributors to give more details about the place they're filling in. So in our case, if we get back to the restaurant, there is a main tag. So it is represented via a key value pair. So the key will be amenity and the value will be restaurant. But in this case, OSM contributors brought some more information about how to contact this restaurant, about the website, about the type of cuisine. So we'll talk about it later in our demo. If there is delivery facility or not, and of course the name of the restaurant and opening hours. If you want to go through all tags that are available, of course, the OpenStreetMap communities are sharing some resources with a comprehensive list of tags. So this one is in English, but you have it in several languages as well. Okay, so this is a good transition actually for the third part, which will be the demo. So in this demo, we will see how we can go through OpenStreetMap to a data set and visualization you can share with your citizens or end users on Opendatasoft. And actually, the advantage of this process is that it is very, very simple. You have three main steps. So the first one, as we said, it is identifying the right OSM tag you want to fetch. Then test your query on Overpass API, James talked about. And third step is about just copy pasting this query on the back office of your ODS portal to create this data set. So actually, if you manage to build your query on Overpass, it is very, very straightforward. Then it's just a question of copy paste. So to illustrate it and to illustrate this process, we'll take three cases. The first one will be, I want to look for restaurants and bars in my area. So I think it's quite relevant in these times of containment. We just all want to go out, but we can't. So let's try to check how we can look for restaurants and bars in our neighborhood. First step, as we said, is just to identify the right key value pair, the right tag. So here it is pretty straightforward. It will be amenity restaurant, but as you can see, it can be even more specific. It can be fast food, it can be pubs, and lots of stuff. Second step, then I go to the Overpass API, so it is accessible through this link. And when you get to Overpass, you will have two main parts. On the left side, you have the box to write your query. And on the right side, you have the map view to visualize the results of your query. So let's start with our first example. As a reminder, I want to look for restaurants in my area. So this is basically the place I live in. So it is already showcased in my preview. And here, the query will be this one. Actually, what I want is just to look for node, ways, and relations, so the three kinds of objects that are containing the tag, the value pair amenity restaurant. And this is actually a specific syntax. If I want to look for what is displayed by the preview, I just need to add bbox inside brackets. So this is the first query we can build. And actually, it can be simplified. Instead of having 3 lines, I can merge it all. So I can merge node, ways, and relation into NWR here, and then specify the tag amenity restaurant with the bbox. Another option, and you can do that for your queries when you will do it for your own city or your own area. I can not only look for restaurants, but if I want, I can look for bars, for fast foods, for trees. So in this case, I can just add an additional line with the new tag I want to look for. So as you can see, I pretty much live in the country, so you don't have lots of bars and restaurants, but for sure, if you live in a city, you will have much more geopoints. Second step, case B, it is actually here that we will go from OpenStreetMap and from the Overpass API to Opendatasoft. Same query, actually, we will still focus on restaurant and bars. So you can see it here. You have the same syntax. I look for node, ways, and relations for restaurants, plus for bars. But unlike my previous example in which I had the bbox, here I just need to look for the city I want to fetch data. So let's imagine here we are the city of Eindhoven, and I think they are attending to this webinar. And in Eindhoven, we will look for restaurants and bars. So to do that, I just need to declare to put the city of Eindhoven. So it's pretty straightforward. You just put the value name equals to Eindhoven. I store it in a variable here. And in my query here, looking for restaurants and bars, I will just specify the variable I want to look for. So let's go into the real Overpass API interface. So as you can see, here I'm in my browser. I just need to run the query just to check that my query is exact. So it can take some time. And if it's okay, the map preview will showcase my geopoints here. And here, actually, the process will be quite simple. I just need to copy paste this link here to my back office. So I will go to my Opendatasoft portal. You can see it here, and it will remind you of your back office since it is common to all of our clients. I will add this source. So I'm copy pasting the beginning of my link, and afterwards I just need to copy paste my query and add it to my datasets. So normally it is supposed to extract data because Opendatasoft is providing an OpenStreetMap connector. So let's rename our datasets, restaurants in Eindhoven, for example. And here I can see the different parameters I can have for my my OSM connector. As you can see in the preview here, the amenity tag is already extracted in a column. So you have either restaurants and bars because we were looking for both of them. And what is interesting is that I can also automatically extract the other tags that are available in this restaurant. So what I can do is extract, as we saw before, the type of cuisine, if there is a delivery or not, the name of the restaurant, and the opening hours. As you'll see in the processing tab, I will have a specific field for each of them. And the next step here is what you are used to doing, is just to configure this data set. So for example, what we can do here is add a filter for the amenity field. And maybe since there is several types of cuisine per restaurant, I can declare this field as multi-valued, so the type of cuisine, and also create a filter for this field as well. Let's save it. And let's go to the information tab here, because since we are using OpenStreetMap data, there is some key and crucial metadata we need to fill in. The first one, of course, is the license, and every data that is taken from OpenStreetMap should be under Open Data database license. The publisher will be, of course, OpenStreetMap. In the reference field, we can, of course, refer to openstreetmap.org, and in the attribution, as it is actually recommended by OpenStreetMap, we will make an attribution to OpenStreetMap contributors. Okay, so let's save this data set and let's publish it to see what it will look like on the front-end interface. So here I have my data set with the filter bar available here. And then I have the raw data in the table view, the map view that will simply represent all the restaurants and bars in the Eindhoven area. And of course, I can play with the analyze view and, for example, just have an ID on how many, what is the distribution per type of cuisine for all restaurants in Eindhoven. So we can do that, maybe show only 20 of them and use it for rendering. So I can see at a glimpse that Chinese and Italian restaurants are dominant in Eindhoven. Last step, if you want to go further in terms of visualization, what you can do is, of course, highlight this data set. Maybe we'll filter only on restaurants and not only bar, and just select restaurants that for which cuisine is filling. So let's select all the records, and here it is something that you're familiar with. The map builder, you can use color by category, and for example, use the field cuisine to color every geopoints by type of cuisine, and it can be, so this is done very quickly, but in a couple of steps you can have this kind of map view. So let's get back to our slideshow. So this is how actually you can ingest data from OSM to Opendatasoft. And actually, once you have a first query, it is quite easy to leverage on this query and to adapt it. So for example, in the case of Eindhoven, I can add another city in the suburbs of Eindhoven, Veldhoven, to my geographic variable here, and my query will get more restaurants and bars. Same James was talking about the open shops during the COVID crisis. It is actually the same kind of query you can use. Here I took the city of Nantes in France to do that. It's the same structure actually. What only changes here is the tag opening hours COVID-19, which was created by recently by the OSM community. And once you have this kind of structure, it's very easy to look for other stuff. So if, for example, I want to look for pubs in Nantes, I just need to change the value, the key here, and I will have my results. So actually, that's it for the demo. And we'll switch to the next part, which is the key takeaways. So the objective of this webinar was just to give you some background about OSM and the first demo that you can reproduce on your site. So I think the next step for sure is let's practice. You can ask all of your questions. We will send you after the webinar the slide deck, of course, but also a Typeform questionnaire in which you can ask your questions if you have some question about the query, about the context, about the background. And on Thursday session, as James was mentioning, we will try to answer your questions as best as we can. Here you will find the key resources that have been shared. Just to mention that on our data network, as mentioned, you have a couple of OSM datasets, and in the information tab, you also have the query that was run to create these datasets. So it can be also a good sources. You'll have here all the queries that were used to build this demo. And yeah, so thank you very much for your attention, and I hope we'll have another session this Thursday with all your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.